Hi y'all, welcome to the Craft Table Podcast. This is Tori. You can reach me at thecrafttablepodcast@gmail.com, or you can see my work or DM me on either the Making app or Instagram at the Craft Table Podcast. This week almost didn't happen. I forgot that it was Tuesday, and I didn't forget it was Tuesday, but I forgot it was podcast day. And my life has been a little hectic, and so I wasn't feeling up to it, but I figured I would be authentic and show up anyways. Just to briefly touch on some stuff. My sweet dog Maggie tore both of her ACLs, or CCLs rather, last Tuesday. The one was already torn, but I guess in big dogs, particularly pit bulls, they're 50% likely to tear the second one if they tear the first one, and it's like genetics and stuff. And she came from a backyard litter that I have no idea how healthy anybody was. So it's just the luck of the draw. She tore both of them, so my life has been very stressful with planning how to afford a double surgery and running her to the emergency vet and the regular vet and surgical consults. So it's been a little stressful, and on top of that, I think I've briefly mentioned that I have chronic conditions. I was diagnosed with one, thought that was it. And then it's come to the attention of my healthcare team of people that I have another underlying problem that's always been there. So I'm running in between my own doctor's appointments and testings and stuff. So, I mean, if you're chronically ill, I'm sure you definitely can relate. It's just not been the easiest at the moment. So I very well almost didn't record, but I figured I should keep to my routines, and this has become a routine now. So with all of that being said, I don't really have a whole lot to share. I haven't had time and really had the energy to sit down and craft all that much. I know for a fact I'm not going to get my test knit done now. It's just been a bit of a nightmare in my personal life on top of what was already happening. So crafting has come to a standstill, but I figured I'd talk to you guys about how I'm processing my Cormo fleece, because I've learned a few things in the last month or so that I've begun processing month. Yeah. I can't keep track of time and when I bought this dang fleece. I would say about a month now that I've started going through it and processing it. I have not really processed a heavily lanolin uncoated fleece before, so I had to treat it very differently, turns out, than my coated lanolin heavy fleece. And I just wanted to talk about that because it was kind of interesting. So to start us off with that, I wanted to share my tools that I've been using. I'll share my tools as we go. So I know that I showed you guys a lock of the fleece when I was talking about it the first time, I think a couple podcast episodes ago now. I'm just picking veggie matter out of my washed lock. But sorry guys, my brain is a little all over the place. But originally I was just taking chunks of the fleece and washing it and not really being mindful of keeping the structure of the locks. I didn't think it would matter, and I realized I was losing a lot of the fleece in the process, and I wasn't able to separate it very well. I wasn't able to keep the sun bleach tips out of the natural color of the fleece, and it was just giving me a lot of problems. And so I tried something different. I started pulling the locks individually. Here's just one of them, and here's a second one. So I was just pulling them individually from the fleece, the raw fleece, and then lining them up in a laundry bag, like a lingerie bag that I bought. Very, very simple, very cheap from the dollar store, and it came in a pack of like 4 or 5. I've lost a few at this rate, so I only have 2 on hand. But I originally bought these guys to process alpaca? Yeah, alpaca fleece. No, llama. I think it was llama. Or alpaca. I can't remember which. It was gifted to me and I didn't get a lot of information. So, because it was gifted to that person quite a while ago. So, that was the original intent of these, and I've kind of had them around to wash my knits and dry my knits in the washer on just the drain spin cycle, which you can do. And I'm not really super gentle with my knits. I'm kind of rough with them, so I might not be the best human to be talking about how to care for your garments, but that's how I wash them. I rinse them in wool wash, and then I throw them in those lingerie bags, and then throw it in a spin cycle in the washer to get any excess water out, and then I lay it flat to dry. That works best for me. It keeps my knits from taking days to dry because it is a humid climate here, especially in the cold. It gets a little rough. So I figured I would line up each lock that I picked from my fleece like this. So they're not together, but they're close enough to touch in this bag. I would do a row up top and then a row on bottom, and it would look exactly like that. That direction, I think. Direction, format, whatever. In that scenario on the table, and then I would take that bag, I wouldn't overfill it, take that bag, gently press it into very, very hot water, and that has been getting rid of not necessarily all of the veggie matter because it kind of stays in the mesh, but that's okay. I can pluck as I go or just leave it be and pluck it out of the yarn after I've plied it. I've done that quite a bit with my cardigan I'm making, but I noticed that I was able to get more use out of it. Might take longer up front than just grabbing a bunch from the bag of fleece that I have and then throwing it in the water. This gives me more usable wool, and it keeps it from felting too much, and it also has proven to be a really good washing method for getting dirt out and lanolin. So I get the water as hot as I can, and then I soak it twice in 20-minute batches. Then I wash it with, it depends on how many times you do the just straight water bath. This one thankfully has only taken 2. My fin took several, so it's just dependent on whatever. And the lanolin I've been able to completely get out of the wool, which is really good because my other fleece that was lanolin heavy is in the wool still, and it's making it hard to knit. So that's been really nice, and as you can see, it's kept the air of this block. There's a lot of air. You can kind of see my hand from the back. And so I found that to be the most useful. And then before I card, so this is getting ready when I log off. When I finish the podcast recording, I'm actually going to take my bundle that I've washed yesterday, and in between caring for the dog and myself, I'm going to go and sit and process some more. But what I'm doing is I'm trimming this sun bleach tip off, so I just have the gray like that, and I'm carding it using my set of student, you can see all the wool and stuff, and you might even see some of the vegetable matter in here, but I'm carding it with my student hand carders from Ashford Traditional into those little batlings I showed you previously. I don't have any to share because there's one half partially spun on my wheel in front of me, and that's the only one, so that's why I'm making more. But I wanted to share that because I found that maybe it would be useful to somebody else, and kind of like how another way or something different to do with a lanolin heavy uncoated fleece, if you don't mind dealing with a lot of vegetable matter still. I mean, your options will vary. It just depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. But this, I've found, has been the most helpful. It's been able to get the most out of the wool that I've purchased, which I'm really happy about. And it dries out very nicely and it's still really soft. So I'm happy about that. But I wanted to share that with y'all because I think it's important to share how I'm doing things and maybe help someone else figure out how they want to do it. Other than that, I've done not a lot of knitting. I don't know if I shared this last week. I feel like I might have. I don't feel like I've knit a lot on my project. But the Kingston Cardi, which is coming out next week, I believe next week. Let me pull this out. No, I don't think I shared this, but I finished one sleeve. And as you can see, it's pretty wide. It's pretty wide. I did just a little over half of the decreases before it became too long. I had done 15 of the, I won't give the amount so that it's not spoiling the pattern, but I did 15 decreases and realized, shit, this isn't going to fit. I'm gonna have arms that are double my arm. I'm gonna have sleeves that are double the length of my arm. So I tinked back and only did 13 decreases. So that's why it's so large, but I'm not too concerned. I think it's gonna still be a very good sweater to wear. And I think these large sleeves might actually be really nice. Who knows? I might rip it out after the test knit and do like bell sleeves or something with like rapid, not bell sleeves, balloon sleeves, rapid decreasing. But I found, like I mentioned last week, that a lot of this sweater, I'm realizing, does not fit my proportions to me. I think it would work really well for someone who's taller, has longer arms, and is a larger person. Like, I feel like both in weight and in like size, just like general proportions, I think it would work really, really well. It did not work for me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to enjoy this sweater. I did start the second sleeve. I'm not that far along, as you can tell. I have only done a couple of the decreases, but I made copious notes so I know where I need to stop and how many for the ribbing. I am currently out of yarn, so I'm spinning up another skein as fast as I can to keep knitting, because once I finish the sleeve, the last thing to do is the button band, and I have buttons already, so that'll be nice. I'm excited about those buttons. They're the mushroom ones I shared from the Maryland Sheep and Wool episode. I think they'll look really great with this gray tonal handspun mess. Affectionately, I call it a mess. I think it'll look really good, and it'll be a great over everything sweater. Like, kind of like a coat cardigan, less of an indoor cardigan, but more of a, oh, I'm gonna leave the house and it's chilly, but I don't want to wear a jacket. I'm gonna grab this guy. So I think I'll get a lot of use out of it. It's just the fact that I don't think I'm gonna finish it by June 10th. Unless I'm not going to finish it by June 10th, let's be real here. It's doubtful. I don't have the energy, and there's just so much going on in my life that is taking up a lot of my time and energy, and so not a lot of knitting. I actually finished the sleeve in the middle of trying to complete a dungeon with some friends in Destiny. So I've been knitting in between gaming when I've had a free moment, which hasn't been very often, clearly. So that's about all that I've knit on, aside from my sock. I have been keeping it in this little bag I bought several years ago from my old local yarn store in Philly, Loop. Great store. They've got some good selection on hand-dyed yarn. They always have decent bags. I bought this my first year of knitting. It's a mica bag. I'm not sure how you'd pronounce that, but it's just a wax canvas bag. It's good for socks. That's what I use it for. Nothing else really. But I've shared this yarn before from, let me make sure I did not. No, I did not. So, sorry, I was just making sure I didn't lose stitches. But I've shared this yarn before. It's pollen from, the colorway is pollen from Fibertales from Maryland. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. It's the colorway pollen from Fibertales. I've shared her Etsy before. She is on Instagram. I bought this yarn at Maryland Sheep and Wool. Love her yarn. It's great. I have been taking this project with me to doctor's appointments and to the vet, and so I've gotten a little bit done. It's just portable. It's easier to take with me than that massive cardigan. So I've just been knitting a little bit. So it's not a lot, as you can see, but it's a little bit of, it's hard to show it on in the middle of a row. But I've got a bit going. I think these socks are going to be a little large. I probably should have sized down, because this is not technically, I mean, it's technically a fingering weight, but Targi is so bouncy that it really ends up being like more of a sport weight. And this grows. I know this yarn grows, so the sock might be a little bit big for me, but I'm gonna have plenty for a second set of socks. So after this Kia socks, oh, I should say this pattern is the Kia socks. It's hard to tell. Color's blowing out pretty badly. There we go. But it's just a textured pattern sock. It was free a year or two ago, a couple years ago now, I think. 2022. Yeah, 2020 is when I got it, the pattern, I think. So, it's long overdue to knit. It's just a mindless knit now. I don't have to think about the pattern. I don't have to think about how many stitches I'm knitting or the gusset or anything like that. So it's been pretty easy and straightforward. Like I said, I've just been knitting on it at appointments while waiting for things. That's why I'm in the middle of a row. I got called back at the doctor's office and didn't finish the row. But I've just been throwing it in my little purse and going with it. It's just something easy that I can do and keep myself busy. Other than that, I haven't been really working on anything. I haven't been doing any English paper piecing. I haven't been doing any crochet. I haven't knit on any other projects. I've just kind of been processing wool as fast as I can, spinning it up and do a 2-ply, and then immediately washing, drying, and getting it into the cardigan as fast as I can. This process has been very hard to commit to right now. Not because of the pattern or the spinning or anything like that, but purely because of like my own body and what's happening and just the chaos that is ensuing in my personal life. And that's reality. When it rains, it pours. I will never not trust that statement after this ever again. That might be a little bit southern of me and my sayings. My good friend from Long Island makes fun of me because I know all of these sayings and they just make sense, and he's like, I don't get it. Like, one of them is, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and he's like, I don't even know what that means. But me and my other friends from Texas are like, well, of course. Although that other friend from Texas is also very much what I would call country. I myself I like to say that I am very much a trash goblin, and so like I don't come from great prestigious background either, so like I'm very quote unquote country. I'm very much that hick that it just is the way it is. It's probably why I know all of those things, but this is definitely what's been happening in my life, so the mojo is just not here. I'm fantasizing about other projects once this is done. I will not be purchasing anything in the near future, so I'm just with the way that things are and what's happening and budgeting and being a single person and trying to figure all of that out on your own, as well as maintaining everything else and owning a home by yourself and doing all those things. So my purchasing and like outside yarn stuff isn't really going to be happening on the podcast for a while. I don't think I'll be, I know that there's already been, emails and like notifications and social media postings about like tickets being sold for all of the events prior to Rhinebeck. Like, people are already gearing towards the fall festival season, and I'm not there. I'm not going to be there. I'm literally most likely going to be still helping Maggie heal from 2 knee surgeries, because the way that, this might be too much in the details, but this is just my reality and what's happening right now. She is going to, at the end of this month, get her first knee surgery. It's called a TPLO, a T-PLO. That will be done, and then like a month later she'll get the second one, and then it's like several months of healing. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm going to be knitting from stash. So that's kind of what you'll be seeing from me in the foreseeable future. I hope that's not boring. Some of it will definitely be hand spun, because that was my goal for this year, was to use a lot of hand spun in my knitting, and I think I'll definitely be able to do that. I do have my fleece that I'm working on, which has multiple colors, so I'll be able to do a few things with that. And then also I have, I'm looking off to the side because that's where it's sitting, but I have fiber, hand-dyed fiber from places that needs to be spun up, and so I definitely will have new yarn to share and work with, but my existing stash I'm definitely gonna have to sit down and figure out and use, because before this my stash is what it is. It's very much not pretty. It's not large either. It's not, I don't have walls of yarn. I have odds and ends, multiple weights of yarn, not enough yarn for projects. For some projects I have enough yarn. It just is very chaotic and unorganized, and it'll be interesting to see how I work with my boundaries that I'm having to enforce right now. my limitations on my crafting and things like that. So that's kind of just, I know the end kind of turned into a rambly bit. I'm sorry. It's just a lot has been going on, and that's very much impacting my crafting and where I'm at in my creativity right now. And so I just wanted to be upfront and sharing what to expect or what you'll be seeing. It's probably not very interesting to a lot of you. I know that it's like a big deal to go out to these fiber events. Sorry, it's been a long day. Fiber events and like purchasing yarn all the time. Like, I know a lot of podcasts are very big on having like acquisitions every time. That's not going to be my reality, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at that, because some people are really wanting to stash down this year. Some people are wanting to continue to like support indie dyers and things like that, which I think is great. I definitely, if I had the income, would be supporting a few of my favorites. It just isn't in the works. It is what it is. Life happens. I don't really know what else to say. It's just been a little crazy. Oh, it's Tour de Fleece. Are any of you, I would be curious, is anyone on a team this year or doing it? I know that my spinning wheel came when Tour de Fleece was happening. Like, I purchased my spinning wheel during Tour de Fleece, and I spun. That's how I acquainted myself to my wheel, and it was the best way to acquaint myself to my wheel. It was really fun. It was great. It was so great. It was such a great way to start the summer and to spend the summer. And so I'm a little sad that I'm not participating this year, but I just can't manage it. It's just not happening. But are you guys doing it? Can I live vicariously through you? Like, do you have a team? Are you not joining a team by like giving yourself a goal of like spinning for 20 minutes a day or participating in the challenges? You can share in the comments. I'd love to see it. I am not, but I know that when I did participate, my goal was 20 minutes a day. I think if I were to participate this year, that would have been the goal as well. It's just to spin a little bit every day, just because it's such a great and very soothing practice. I highly encourage it for anyone who is a spinner and would like to do that. It's a good way to also like really grow and learn in the way that you spin. So I'm all for it. I'd love to hear it if you're participating. If not, that's also cool. You don't need to have a big event to spin. It's not a big deal. It just isn't a big deal. But other than that, that's it. I hope you guys have a good week. I hope your week is definitely not as hectic as mine. I hope you get to enjoy the sunshine. And if you have pride events going on and you participate, I hope you have a fun time. I know that Philly just had one in the neighborhood this last weekend, I think. Yeah, this last weekend, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I just hope you have a good week and you get to do something fun and relaxing, and you get to really get some crafting in if your mojo is there. If not, I hope it comes back soon, and I will see you guys next week.